Sent from Disneyland, history in our hand. So much to say about yesterday and the decades we have spanned. Postcards from the park, this journey will embark. See what has changed and what remains on Sent from Disneyland. Sent from Disneyland.
Welcome to the Sent from Disneyland podcast.
Here age relives fond memories of the past.
If it's your first time joining us, welcome. On this podcast, we'll take a journey into the past and explore Disneyland, Disneyland history, and more, with mementos, snapshots, souvenirs, and postcards sent from Disneyland, from 1955 to the present. Let's start by thanking my patrons from patreon.com. You can join in at any level to support the show and receive snail mail from my trips to Disneyland and from my desk, plus some sneak peeks and bonus content. Special thanks to Random Olive, the first patron to this podcast, and to the rest of the e-ticket patrons, Tania, Eric Daniels, Monica Seitz Vega, Bill Dreffel, Scott Cagle, Russ Romano, Michael and Christina Cross, Angela Reynolds, and Sheila Harry. C-ticket patrons Serious Inquiries Only, Debbie Weinstein, Jennifer Schneep, Grace Coate, Patty Wolin, Ben and Noel Bruning, and Greg Gorley. B-ticket patron Joshua Bell, and to the A-ticket patrons Elise Sharp, Zealot Infinity, Alexis Robles, Angel DeBlock, Daps Magic, and the Beyond the Railroad podcast. I am your host, your post-host Clocky, and today we have 2 postcards sent from Disneyland. The front of our first postcard has a Disneyland band playing in the center of Town Square during the flag retreat ceremony. You can see Vesey Walker leading the band from the plaque next to the flagpole. In the background, you can see the Emporium. On the back it reads, Disneyland Band. Vesey Walker, leader of the world-renowned Disneyland Band, conducts at the flag-lowering ceremony at the day's end in Disneyland's Town Square on Main Street. It's postmarked April 9th, 1958, with a Torrance cancel and a 2-cent red Jefferson postage stamp, Scott number 1033. I assume they visit the park on Saturday, April 5th, 1958, when park hours were from 10 a.m. to midnight. The weather was a high of 65 and a low of 42. Park attendance that day was 15,066. It's addressed to Mr. and Mrs. Hugh Ingram, care of Miss Miriam Rose Ingram of Sweatman, Mississippi. It reads, We had such a nice trip out here. Mary E. and family were there to meet us. Saturday we spent at Disneyland. It was fantastic. Sunday we toured Burbank, Hollywood, and Beverly Hills. We saw the beautiful homes of the movie stars. Today we went to see Marineland and enjoyed it. Mary E. has such a fine husband and children. We are having a good time. Love, Elizabeth. I chose 2 postcards from 1958 for this episode because we'll explore a Disneyland guidebook from 1958 with additional commentary from the original owner. While hanging out with friends last Saturday, we were talking about how amazing it is to have personalized Disney souvenirs. Going through my Disneyland guidebooks, I found one that has added commentary on many of the pages. The cover of the 1958 guidebook has Sleeping Beauty Castle with guests walking in and out, and an ice cream seller on the right, and a map under a light on the left. On the right side of the cover is Walt Disney under the words, Walt Disney's Guide to Disneyland, and Tinkerbell surrounded by stars. Looking inside the book, on the 3rd page is an image of the Disneyland and Santa Fe Railroad pulling into Main Street Station. Under it, in cursive and blue ink, reads, Took a trip around. The next page, there are more images of Main Street, including the fire wagon being pulled by 2 white horses. Under it is written, Just looked at Main Street, didn't take any of the rides. Then on the right, there's an image of the candle shop on Main Street, with picked up a candle flower-shaped, orange with gold pleats. On the next page, under an image of the Disneyland Band parading down Main Street towards Town Square, it reads, Saw the band perform. Then next to the image of the sheep at the Grand Canyon, the phrase, Quite a setting is written under the caption, Shore-footed mountain sheep are viewed atop the rock formation in the foreground of Disneyland's Grand Canyon diorama. Moving on to Fantasyland, there's an image of Sleeping Beauty Castle similar to the front cover of the guidebook, and next to it, handwritten, is Saw scenes from Sleeping Beauty in the castle. On the next page, with images of Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, Dumbo, and King Arthur's Carousel, is written Up and down, round, round. They must have spent a lot of time in Fantasyland, because on the next 2 pages, under a Storybook Land Canal boat, is written Very realistic. Next to the 2 images of Casey Jr., another Trip Around Storybook Land is written. On the next page, you can see Sleeping Beauty Castle at night with fireworks exploding. And the guest wrote, "Saw 4 flakes." To the right is an image of guests being loaded onto Peter Pan's flight. Next to it is printed, "Ready for a flight in King Arthur's pirate galleon over moonlit London to Never Neverland." And the guest wrote, "It flies yet." Since this guidebook was made for 1958, images of the attraction of Alice in Wonderland wouldn't have been readily available, so concept art of the attraction is included, and the guest wrote, "That rabbit sure has a wild setup." Add some flair to your mail by checking out stamps at Enfield Post. You can explore different stamp options on our Etsy site, grab some great deals by following EP Sunday Sales on Instagram, or create something special and have her design a stamp array for your invitation or celebration. You can head over to EnfieldPost.com and explore all the different vintage postage stamps you can use on your next card or letter. That's ENFIELDPOST on Instagram and EnfieldPost.com for your wedding and vintage postage needs. Enfield Post is the official postage stamp sponsor of the Sent from Disneyland podcast. The front of our next postcard has the upside-down room in the Alice in Wonderland attraction, with guests riding a green caterpillar, heading to an upside-down door with a white rabbit blowing a horn. On the back it reads, "Upside down? Guests on a journey through Alice's Adventures in Wonderland pass through the upside-down room of the famous childhood story. Rugs on the ceiling, furniture above, and even a goldfish swimming in a bowl make one wonder just who is upside down in this wonderful world of fantasy in Disneyland." It's postmarked November 1st, 1958, with the Los Angeles, the Academy of American Poets 25th Anniversary 1934-1959 cancel, and a 3-cent purple Liberty postage stamp, Scott number 1035. I assume they visit the park on Friday, October 31st, 1958, when park hours were from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. The weather was a high of 84 and a low of 53. Park attendance that day was 2,538. It's addressed to Mr. and Mrs. R. William Graves of Des Moines, Iowa. It reads, "Went to Knott's Berry Farm yesterday and here today. Enjoyed both. Fantasyland was just fabulous. We enjoyed the jungle ride too. Going down to L.A. shopping Monday, to Tijuana on our way home. The Wilkers." Moving on to the Frontierland section of the guidebook, there's an image of the entrance. Under it is written, "Here we go." The next page, next to an image of the Rainbow Mine Train, is written, "A real nice ride." Then, under an image of Tom Sawyer Island and the rafts across, it reads, "Across the water." On the following page, under an image of the Mark Twain and the canoes, it says, "Took a nighttime trip on the river." To the left is an image of Tom Sawyer Island and one of its high peaks, and next to it is written, "Man, what a climb." Up next is a painting of the Columbia, and next to it, the guest wrote, "Daytime trip on here." Following Frontierland is the Tomorrowland section. The first image has "Built to Last" next to it, and is a picture of the Nautilus and the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea exhibit. To the right, it reads, "Could stand some improvement," over a picture of Monsanto's House of the Future. The next 2 pages of Tomorrowland, there's an image of guests sitting down for a rocket to the moon, and "Shakes All the Way" is written over the description, "Space explorers set to blast off to the moon inside Tomorrowland's space chamber." Next is a rare image from the Skyway flying over the Viewliner, the precursor for the monorail. Next to it is written, "Sandy would rather be down looking up than up looking down." The final section of the guidebook is Adventureland. Written next to a hippo with his mouth wide open, the guest wrote, "Say ah," and below an image of the skipper shooting towards the hippo, the guest wrote, "He still lived. Look where he's aiming." In the center map, the guests underlined all the attractions, shops, food, and refreshment stands they visited. Not mentioned previously include the Uptown Pharmacy, the Wurlitzer Music Hall, all the shops in the Emporium, the Candy Palace, the Magic Shop, the Art Corner, and the Coca-Cola Refreshment Corner. Then over in Frontierland, the Mineral Hall, Bone Jewelry, Pendleton Woolen Mills. Over to Fantasyland, Snow White, Mr. Toad, the Carousel, Tinkerbell's Toy Shop, the Mad Hatter, the Pirate Ship Restaurant. Then over to Tomorrowland, the Color Gallery, Kaiser Aluminum, the Bathrooms of the Future, the Hall of Chemistry, the Satellite View of America, and finally, in Adventureland, all the shops in the bazaar. Overall, I'd say these guests had a full day at Disneyland in 1958. I'm not sure what else they could have accomplished other than riding a few of the Main Street vehicles and seeing a show at the Golden Horseshoe. My incoming postcard is sponsored by the Art Throwdown. Art Throwdown, or ATD, is a craft hour on Instagram starting at 9 p.m. Eastern or 6 Pacific. Art Throwdown is a wonderful community of artists who love to share their craft, from creating sticker postcards and coloring techniques to intricate paper cutting and unique crafting. It's always a treat to watch a show and occasionally get some one-of-a-kind postcards from the group. Each host brings something a little different to each show. I'll list some of the regular hosts, or you can follow Russ Romano 2021 on Instagram. The front of my incoming postcard has Pantone 383, a green color, with a hand-drawn Christmas tree over the color, and Merry Christmas written at the bottom. It's postmarked January 21st, 2026, with an Indianapolis, Indiana, cancel, and an Oak Leaf Forever postcard postage stamp, Scott number 5968. It reads, Merry, Merry Belated. Best, Ed and Kenny. Thank you so much for the postcard, Ed. I had a few things happen over the last week that led me to join Jim and some of the Art Throwdown crew on Friday night for their Art Throwdown hang on Zoom. Such a great community to see, just about 10 of us over an hour crafting or making postcards. I spent my time catching up with some old friends and working on this episode, choosing postcards and researching the weather and park hours for each section. We discussed the first card from this episode as a King of Town postcard, as it only has the recipient's name and city or town and state. Swetman, Mississippi is an unincorporated community of Montgomery County in Mississippi, which had a population of 22 from the late 1800s to 1959. The other great experience I had this week was going to the Walt Disney Family Museum to welcome Failed Imagineer to California. I got to see some old friends, as well as meet some people for the first time. A huge shout out to Oliver, who I got to hang out with after the event. Thanks for listening to Sent from Disneyland. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and tell your friends. It would also help to leave a 5-star rating and comment on whatever podcast platform you use. If you'd like to support the show financially, please check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/sentfromdisneyland. You can find me on Instagram and TikTok at Sent from Disneyland, or my website, sentfromdisneyland.com. For questions and comments, send me a postcard addressed to Sent from Disneyland, P.O. Box 44, Hood, California, 95639. This podcast is not affiliated with Disney, the United States Postal Service, or any post office or Disney-related properties. Opinions expressed on this podcast belong to the host and guests of the Sent from Disneyland podcast. This podcast is produced and edited by Clocky McDowell, website designed by Misty McDowell, theme song was written and performed by Noah Sunday Lefkowitz. Take it away, Noah.